Have you ever felt like something's missing in your life, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Maybe you've achieved success on the outside, but still feel empty on the inside. Well, here's a secret that might surprise you. The answer to true happiness and fulfillment isn't out there in the world. It's actually inside you. That's right. Finding your inner self is easier than you think, and it's the key to unlocking a life of purpose, peace, and joy. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is this inner self everyone's talking about? Don't worry. It's not some mystical, hard-to-reach part of you. Your inner self is simply the core of who you are, your true essence that exists beneath all the roles you play and masks you wear in daily life. It's like the quiet voice inside that knows what really matters to you, even when the noise of the world tries to drown it out. Think of your inner self as your own personal compass. When you're connected to it, you always know which direction to go in life. But here's the catch. In our busy, noisy world, many of us have lost touch with this inner compass. We're so busy running around, trying to please others and meet expectations, that we've forgotten how to listen to our own inner voice. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why does finding my inner self really matter? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions in life? Like you're doing all the things you're supposed to do, but still feeling unsatisfied? That's what happens when we're disconnected from our inner selves. We end up living life on autopilot, following a script written by others instead of our own hearts. Here's the thing. If you don't take the time to connect with your inner self, you might find yourself feeling lost and unhappy, even if everything looks good on the surface. You might have a great job, a nice house, and a loving family, but still feel like something's missing. That's because true happiness doesn't come from what we have or what we do. It comes from being in tune with who we really are. When you're disconnected from your inner self, it's like trying to navigate through life without a map or a compass. You might end up making choices that look good on paper, but don't really align with what you truly want or value. This can lead to a sense of emptiness, like you're living someone else's life instead of your own. But here's the good news. When you start to connect with your inner self, everything changes. Suddenly, you have a clear sense of direction. You know what's truly important to you, and you can make decisions that align with your deepest values and desires. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect or easy, but it does become more meaningful and fulfilling. Finding your inner self can bring a sense of peace and calm to your life, even in the midst of chaos. It's like having an anchor that keeps you steady no matter what storms life throws your way. When you're connected to your inner self, you're less likely to be swayed by other people's opinions or societal pressures. Instead, you can stand firm in who you are and what you believe. Moreover, connecting with your inner self can help you make better choices in all areas of your life. From your career to your relationships, when you're in tune with your true self, you naturally gravitate towards what's right for you. You become more authentic in your interactions with others, which can lead to deeper, more meaningful connections. Now that we've talked about why finding your inner self is so important, let's dive a little deeper into what this inner self actually is. Don't worry, we're not going to get all complicated or use big words. Your inner self is really just the most authentic version of you, the part that exists beyond all the roles you play in life. Think about it. In a single day, you might be a worker, a parent, a friend, a spouse, and many other things. Each of these roles comes with its own set of expectations and behaviors. But beneath all these roles, there's a core you that remains constant. That's your inner self. Your inner self is like the quiet voice of wisdom inside you. It's the part of you that knows what truly makes you happy, what you're passionate about, and what you value most in life. When you're connected to your inner self, you can hear this voice clearly. It guides you towards choices that align with who you really are, not just who you think you should be. One way to understand your inner self is to think of it as your personal truth. It's the you that exists when no one else is around, when you don't have to impress anyone or live up to any expectations. It's the dreams you had as a child before the world told you what was and wasn't possible. It's the values you hold dear, even if they're different from what society tells you to value. Your inner self is also the source of your intuition or gut feeling. Have you ever had a strong feeling about something, even if you couldn't explain why? That's often your inner self trying to communicate with you. When we're disconnected from our inner selves, we tend to ignore these feelings or brush them off as silly. But when we learn to listen to them, they can be powerful guides in our lives. It's important to understand that your inner self isn't something you need to create or achieve. It's already there, inside you. The process of finding your inner self is really about peeling away the layers of expectations, fears, and limiting beliefs that have built up over time. It's about rediscovering who you are at your core and learning to live from that authentic place. Your inner self is unique to you. It's shaped by your experiences, your values, your passions, and your dreams. That's why the journey to find your inner self is so personal. What works for someone else might not work for you, and that's okay. The key is to be patient with yourself and stay open to self-discovery. Remember, understanding your inner self is an ongoing process. As you grow and change, your understanding of your inner self may evolve too. That's perfectly normal. The important thing is to stay connected with that core part of yourself, to keep listening to that inner voice of wisdom and truth. In the next sections, we'll explore some practical ways to start connecting with your inner self. These are simple steps that anyone can take, regardless of where you are in your life or how busy your schedule might be. The journey to find your inner self is one of the most rewarding adventures you can embark on. It's a path that leads to greater self-awareness, more authentic relationships, and a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment in life. So, are you ready to start this exciting journey of self-discovery? Let's dive in and explore how you can begin to connect with your inner self step by step. Remember, this isn't about reaching a destination. It's about enjoying the journey of getting to know yourself better. Every step you take towards understanding your inner self is a step towards a more authentic, fulfilling life. Let's talk about something that many of us experience but might not always recognize: being disconnected from our inner selves. It's like having a best friend you've lost touch with, except in this case, that best friend is you. So, how can you tell if you've drifted away from your true self? There are a few key signs to look out for. First up, feeling always busy but not satisfied. Does this sound familiar? You're rushing from one task to the next, ticking things off your to-do list, but at the end of the day, you still feel like something's missing. It's like being on a hamster wheel. Lots of movement, but not really getting anywhere. This constant busyness without fulfillment is a big red flag that you might be out of touch with your inner self. When we're connected to our inner selves, we naturally prioritize activities that truly matter to us. But when we're disconnected, we often find ourselves caught up in a whirlwind of tasks and obligations that don't really align with what we care about. We might be doing what we think we should do, rather than what we truly want to do. Another sign is not knowing what you really want in life. Do you ever feel like everyone else seems to have it all figured out, while you're still trying to decide what you want to be when you grow up, even if you're already a grown-up? This lack of direction isn't because you're indecisive or unmotivated. It's often because you've lost touch with your inner compass, that part of you that knows what truly matters. When we're disconnected from our inner selves, making decisions can feel overwhelming. We might find ourselves constantly seeking advice from others or endlessly weighing pros and cons without ever feeling confident in our choices. This is because we're looking outside ourselves for answers that can only come from within. Lastly, often feeling stressed or anxious is another big sign that you might be disconnected from your inner self. Now, it's normal to feel stressed or anxious sometimes. Life can be challenging. But if you find yourself constantly on edge, worrying about the future, or feeling overwhelmed by everyday life, it might be a sign that you're out of sync with your true self. When we're in touch with our inner selves, we have a sense of inner peace that helps us navigate life's ups and downs. We're more resilient in the face of challenges because we're grounded in who we are and what we value. But when we're disconnected, even small setbacks can feel like major crises. It's important to remember that experiencing these signs doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. In our fast-paced, always connected world, it's actually pretty common to lose touch with our inner selves. The good news is, recognizing these signs is the first step towards reconnecting. Now that we've talked about the signs of being disconnected from your inner self, let's dive into the first step towards reconnecting: quiet time. I know, in our busy lives, the idea of finding any quiet time might seem laughable. But trust me, this is a game changer, and it's easier than you might think. So what do I mean by quiet time? I'm talking about carving out just 5 minutes a day where you can be alone with your thoughts. That's right, just 5 minutes. It's not about meditating for hours or going on a silent retreat, although those things can be great too. It's about creating a small, consistent practice of stillness in your daily life. Here's how you can start. Find a peaceful spot where you won't be disturbed. This could be a corner of your bedroom, a comfy chair in your living room, or even a quiet spot in a nearby park. The key is to choose a place where you feel comfortable and can relax. Once you've found your spot, set a timer for 5 minutes and just sit quietly. You don't need to do anything special. Just be. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or keep them open and focus on a point in front of you. The goal isn't to empty your mind or achieve some state of perfect calm. It's simply to create space in your day where you're not doing anything except being present with yourself. Now, here's where it gets interesting. As you sit quietly, you'll probably notice that your mind starts to wander. You might start thinking about your to-do list, worrying about a problem at work, or planning what to have for dinner. This is totally normal. In fact, it's a crucial part of the process. The key is to notice your thoughts without judging them. When you realize your mind has wandered, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. You might focus on your breath, the feeling of your body in the chair, or the sounds around you. Don't get frustrated if your mind keeps wandering. That's what minds do. The practice is in noticing and coming back over and over again. This simple practice of quiet time is powerful because it helps you start to separate yourself from the constant chatter of your thoughts. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You're the one observing your thoughts. This is a crucial first step in connecting with your inner self. At first, 5 minutes might feel like an eternity. You might get fidgety or impatient. That's okay. Stick with it. Over time, you might find that you actually look forward to this quiet time. You might even want to extend it to 10 minutes or longer. Remember, the goal of this quiet time isn't to achieve anything or get anywhere. It's simply to create space in your life where you can start to hear your inner voice. It's like clearing out the clutter in a room so you can see what's really there. As you make this quiet time a regular part of your day, you might start to notice some changes. You might feel a bit calmer or more centered. You might find it easier to make decisions or set priorities. These are all signs that you're starting to reconnect with your inner self. Now that we've established a practice of quiet time, let's move on to another crucial aspect of finding your inner self: listening to your feelings. Our feelings are like messengers from our inner selves, constantly trying to communicate important information to us. But in our busy lives, we often ignore or push aside these messages, missing out on valuable guidance. So, how do we start tuning in to our feelings? It begins with paying attention to how different activities make you feel. This might sound simple, but it's something many of us forget to do. We get so caught up in what we think we should do, or what others expect of us, that we lose touch with how we actually feel about things. Start by noticing your emotional reactions throughout the day. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? What about when you're at work, or spending time with friends, or doing your hobbies? Don't judge your feelings as good or bad. Just observe them. You might want to keep a simple journal where you jot down your activities and the feelings associated with them. As you do this, you might start to notice patterns. Maybe you always feel energized after spending time in nature, or drained after certain social events. Perhaps you feel a sense of flow and excitement when working on creative projects, but bored and restless during more routine tasks. These patterns are valuable clues about what's truly important to you. Your feelings can be powerful guides to what's truly important in your life. When you feel joy, excitement, or a sense of peace, it's often a sign that you're aligned with your inner self. On the other hand, feelings of persistent stress, boredom, or frustration might indicate that something is out of alignment. Now, this doesn't mean you should only do things that feel good in the moment. Sometimes, things that are important to us require effort or involve temporary discomfort. The key is to distinguish between the kind of discomfort that comes with growth and the kind that comes from going against your true nature. Another important aspect of listening to your feelings is learning to trust your gut feelings more often. You know that little voice inside that sometimes pipes up with a strong feeling about a situation, even if you can't explain why? That's often your inner self trying to communicate with you. In our rational, logic-driven world, we're often taught to ignore these gut feelings or intuitions. We're told to make decisions based solely on facts and figures. But the truth is, our intuition often picks up on subtle cues that our conscious mind misses. Learning to trust these gut feelings can lead to better decisions and a stronger connection with your inner self. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore logic or act impulsively on every feeling. It's about finding a balance between your rational mind and your intuitive feelings. When making decisions, consider both the logical facts and how you feel about the situation. Often the best decisions are ones where your head and your heart are in alignment. Learning to listen to your feelings takes practice. At first, you might not be sure what you're feeling or why. That's okay. Be patient with yourself. The more you practice tuning into your feelings, the clearer the messages will become. Remember, your feelings are not your enemy. They're not something to be controlled or suppressed. They're valuable sources of information about what's going on inside you. By learning to listen to and understand your feelings, you're opening up a direct line of communication with your inner self. As you get better at listening to your feelings, you might find that you're better able to set boundaries, make decisions that align with your values, and navigate challenging situations. You might also find that you're more compassionate with yourself and others as you understand that everyone has complex inner emotional landscapes. Now that we're getting better at listening to our feelings, let's talk about another exciting way to connect with your inner self, trying new things. This might sound simple, but it's a powerful tool for self-discovery. When we step out of our comfort zones and experience new activities, we learn so much about ourselves. Doing new activities can help you learn about yourself in ways you never expected. Think about it. How do you know if you like something if you've never tried it? Maybe you've always thought of yourself as someone who doesn't enjoy art, but what if you discovered a hidden talent for pottery? Or perhaps you've always avoided team sports, but find out you love the camaraderie of a local soccer league. The key here is to be open to new experiences, even small ones. You don't have to go skydiving or travel the world, unless you want to, of course. It could be as simple as trying a new type of cuisine, taking a different route to work, or picking up a book in a genre you don't usually read. The goal is to shake up your routine and expose yourself to new experiences. As you try new things, pay attention to what excites you or makes you curious. Do you find yourself losing track of time when you're gardening? Does learning a new language light you up inside? These moments of excitement and curiosity are like little signposts pointing towards aspects of your inner self that you might not have noticed before. It's important to remember that the goal isn't to be good at everything you try. In fact, it's often through our failures and challenges that we learn the most about ourselves. Maybe you try rock climbing and discover you're afraid of heights. That's valuable information about yourself. Or perhaps you take a cooking class and burn everything, but find that you love the process of experimenting with flavors. Trying new things also helps to break us out of fixed ideas about who we are. Often we carry around labels or identities that we've either chosen for ourselves or that others have given us. I'm not creative. I'm bad at sports. I'm always shy in social situations. But when we try new things, we give ourselves the opportunity to challenge these assumptions and discover new aspects of ourselves. Remember, every new experience is an opportunity to learn something about yourself. Even if you try something and don't enjoy it, that's useful information. It helps you refine your understanding of what you do and don't like, what energizes you and what drains you. Now, let's explore a powerful way to deepen your connection with your inner self. Spending time in nature. In our modern, tech-driven world, it's easy to become disconnected from the natural environment. But reconnecting with nature can have a profound impact on our ability to hear our inner voice and understand ourselves better. Spending time in nature can help you feel more connected to yourself in ways that might surprise you. There's something about being surrounded by trees, feeling the earth beneath your feet, or gazing at a vast sky that helps put things into perspective. It's like nature has a way of quieting the noise in our minds and allowing our true selves to emerge. You don't need to live near a forest or beach to benefit from nature. Even in urban environments, you can find ways to connect with the natural world. Try walking in a local park, tending to some houseplants, or simply sitting outside and watching the clouds. The key is to engage with nature in a mindful way, really noticing the sights, sounds, and sensations around you. One simple yet powerful practice is to try watching the sunset. There's something magical about witnessing the transition from day to night. As you watch the colors change in the sky, you might find your thoughts slowing down and a sense of calm washing over you. This can be a perfect time to check in with your inner self and reflect on your day. Nature can help calm your mind and open your heart in ways that are hard to achieve in our usual busy environments. When we're surrounded by natural beauty, it's easier to let go of our everyday worries and connect with something larger than ourselves. This can create space for insights and realizations about who we are and what's truly important to us. Moreover, spending time in nature can help us tap into our innate creativity and problem-solving abilities. Have you ever noticed how a walk in the park can help clear your head when you're stuck on a problem? That's because nature has a way of shifting our perspective and allowing new ideas to surface. Remember, connecting with nature doesn't have to be a big production. Even a few minutes of mindful attention to a plant on your windowsill or the birds singing outside can help you feel more grounded and in touch with yourself. The key is consistency. Try to make connecting with nature a regular part of your routine. As we continue on this journey of finding our inner selves, let's talk about something that's absolutely crucial: self-care. Now, when I say self-care, I'm not just talking about bubble baths and face masks, although those can be nice too. I'm talking about taking care of your whole self, body, mind, and spirit. Taking care of yourself is key to finding your inner self. Think of it this way: if you're constantly running on empty, stressed out, and neglecting your basic needs, how can you expect to hear the quiet voice of your inner self? Self-care creates the foundation that allows us to do the deeper work of self-discovery. So, what does real self-care look like? It starts with the basics: eating well, getting enough sleep, and moving your body in ways that feel good to you. These might seem simple, but they have a huge impact on how we feel and how connected we are to ourselves. when we're well-nourished, well-rested, and physically active, we're better able to handle stress and stay in tune with our inner selves. But self-care goes beyond just physical health. It also includes doing things you enjoy just because they make you happy. This could be reading a good book, playing music, cooking a favorite meal, or spending time with loved ones. These activities aren't just fun. They're essential for nourishing your spirit and staying connected to what makes you, you. Another important aspect of self-care is learning to set boundaries. This means knowing when to say no to demands on your time and energy that don't align with your values or needs. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to always putting others first. But remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Self-care also involves being kind to yourself. We often have a harsh inner critic that judges our every move. Learning to speak to yourself with kindness and compassion is a powerful form of self-care. When you make a mistake or face a setback, try to treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a good friend. Remember, self-care looks different for everyone. What recharges one person might drain another. The key is to pay attention to what truly nourishes you, not what you think should nourish you or what works for someone else. This in itself is an exercise in listening to your inner self. As you practice self-care, you might notice that it becomes easier to hear your inner voice. That's because self-care helps clear your mind so you can hear your inner voice more clearly. When you're not constantly stressed and overwhelmed, you have more mental and emotional space to connect with your true self. As we wrap up our exploration of finding your inner self, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've taken together. We've discovered that connecting with our inner selves isn't some mysterious, out-of-reach goal. It's a practical, step-by-step process that anyone can undertake. We started by recognizing the signs that we might be disconnected from our inner selves, feeling constantly busy but unsatisfied, not knowing what we truly want, and experiencing persistent stress or anxiety. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards change. Then, we explored practical steps to reconnect. We talked about the power of quiet time, even just 5 minutes a day, to create space for our inner voice to emerge. We learned about the importance of listening to our feelings, understanding that they're valuable messengers from our inner selves. We discovered how trying new things can open up unexpected pathways to self-discovery, challenging our assumptions about who we are and what we're capable of. We explored the profound impact that connecting with nature can have on our ability to hear our inner voice and gain perspective on our lives. Finally, we delved into the crucial role of self-care in this journey. We learned that taking care of our physical, emotional, and spiritual needs isn't just a nice-to-have. It's essential for creating the foundation that allows us to connect with our inner selves. Remember, finding your inner self is not a destination. It's a journey. It's about developing a lifelong practice of self-awareness and self-discovery. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. The key is to approach this journey with patience, curiosity, and compassion for yourself. As you continue on this path, you might notice some changes. You might find it easier to make decisions that align with your true values. You might feel more at peace with yourself and your place in the world. You might discover new passions or rediscover old ones that you'd forgotten about. But perhaps the most beautiful thing about this journey is that it's uniquely yours. No one else can tell you who you are at your core or what will bring you true fulfillment. That's for you to discover, one step at a time. So, as you go forward from here, I encourage you to keep exploring, keep listening to that inner voice, and keep nurturing your connection with your true self. Remember, you already have everything you need within you. It's just a matter of tuning in and listening. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of finding your inner self. May your journey be filled with discovery, growth, and joy. Here's to the adventure of getting to know the most important person in your life, you.